शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹர ஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிருக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं चक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलाधरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീരക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേന്താത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good evening, everyone. So we'll do a quick review of 88. Since we are a small group, who wants to do 88? Yeah, one of you can do it. Other you can be student. Yeah.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. प्रागेवाचार्यपुत्रा हृति निशमनया correct தானே ராகுல்?
அந்த எண்ட்ல you lost it. Pragevacharya putra hriti nishamanaya swiyashatsuni.
प्रागेवाचार्यपुत्रा हृति निशमनया स्वीयषट्सूनुवीक्षां काङ्क्षन्त्या मातुरुक्त्या सुतलभुवि बलिं प्राप्यते तेनार्चितस्त्वं धातुशापात् हिरण्यान्वितकशिपु भवान् शौरिजान् कंसभग्नान् आनीयैनान् प्रदर्श्य स्वपदमनयताः पूर्वपुत्रान् मरीचेः श्रुतदेव इति श्रुतं द्विजेन्द्रं बहुलाश्वं नृपतिं च भक्तिपूर्णं युगपत्वमनुगृहीतु कामो मिथिलां प्रापित तापसै समेतः
गच्छन्
द्विमूर्तिर् उपयोर्युगपन्निकेतम् एकेन भूरि विभवैर्विहितोपचारः अन्येन तद्दिन भृतैश्च फलोदनाद्यैः तुल्यं प्रसेदित ददात च मुक्तिमाभ्याम्.
This goes to the long four-liner. This goes to the long four-liner.
Okay. அது டக்குனு மாறுறது கஷ்டமா இருக்கு. பூயோ தத்வாரவத்யாம் விஜதனய விருத்திம் तत्प्रलापानपित्वं को वा दैवं निरुन्द्यादित्य किल कथयन् विश्ववोढाप्यसोडाः जीर्णोर्गर्वं विनेतुं त्वयि मनुजधिया कुण्डिताञ्चास्य बुद्धिं तत्त्वारूढां विधातुं परमतमपद प्रेक्षणे नेति मन्ये.
Third line matter first word jishnor, okay? Jishnor. Third line.
Jishnor garvam vineetam. Nashtastasya putraha punarapi tava tupekshaya kashtavadaha spashto jato jananam atattada vasare dvarakamapapartah maitriya तत्रोषितोऽसौ नवमसुतमृतौ विप्रवर्य प्ररोदं श्रुत्वा चक्रे प्रतिज्ञाम् अनुपहृतसुतः सन्निवेक्षे कृशानुम् मानीसत्वामपृष्ट्वा द्विजनिलयगतो बाणजालैर्महास्त्रैः रुन्दानसूतिगेहं पुनरपि सहसा दृष्टनष्टे कुमारे याम्यामैन्द्रीं ततान्याः सुरवरनगरीर्विद्यया साध्य सद्यो मोगोद्योगपतिष्यन् हुतभुजि भवता सस्मितं वारितो भूत् सार्धं तेन प्रतीचीं दिशमति जविना स्यन्तने नाभियातो लोकालोकं व्यतीतः तिमिरभरमतो चक्रधाम्ना निरुन्धन् चक्रांशुक्लिष्टदृष्टिं स्थितमत विजयं पश्येति वारां भारे त्वं प्राददर्शः किमपि हि तमसां दूरं पदं ते तत्रासीनं भुजङ्गाधिपशयनतले दिव्यभूषायुधाद्यैः आवीतं पीतचेलं प्रतिनवजलदश्यामलं श्रीमदङ्गम् मूर्तीनामीशितारं परमिह तिसृणाम् एकमर्थं श्रुतीनां त्वामेव त्वं परात्मन् प्रियसखसहितो नेमितक्षेमरूपम् युवा मामेव द्वावादिक विवृतां हिततया
underline dvavadika bibrutantarkitaya.
Okay. युवा मामेव द्वावादिक विवृतां
sorry ninga dvavadika you're saying dvavadika.
Oh, sorry. Okay. युवा मामेव द्वावदिक विवृतां कृततया विभिन्नौ सन्दृष्टं स्वयमः महार्षं द्विजसुतान् नयेतं दग्रागेतानिति खलु वितीर्णान् पुनरमून द्विजायादायादाः प्रणुतमहिमा पाण्डुजनुषा एवं नानाविहारैर्जगदि जगदभिरमयन् वृष्णिवंशं प्रपुष्णन् ईजानो यज्ञभेदैः अतुलविहृतिभिः प्रीणयन् नेत्राः भूभारक्षेपदम्बात् पदकमलजुषा मोक्षणायावतीर्णः पूर्णं ब्रह्मैव साक्षात् यदुषु मनुजतारूषितस्त्वं व्यलासीः प्रायेण द्वारवत्याम् अवृतदयितदा नारदस्त्वद्रसार्द्रः तस्माल्लेभे कदाचित् खलु सुकृतिविदिस् त्वत्पिता तत्त्वबोधं सुकृतनिधिस् तत्पिता तत्त्वबोधं त्वत्पिता तत्त्वबोधं भक्तानामग्रयायी स च खलु मतिमान् उद्धवस्त्वत्तयेव प्राप्तो विज्ञानसारं सकिल जनहिताया तु नास्ते बदर्याम् सोऽयं कृष्णावतारो जयति तव विभो यत्र सौहार्द भीतिस्नेहद्वेषानुराग प्रभृतिभिरतुलैः आश्रमैर्योगभेदैः आर्तिं तीर्त्वा समस्ताम् अमृतपदमुगुः सर्वतः सर्वलोकाः सत्वं विश्वार्तिशान्त्यै पवनपुरपते भक्तिपूर्त्यां च भूयाः सत्वं विश्वार्तिशान्त्यै पवनपुरपते भक्तिपूर्त्यै च भूयाः सत्वं विश्वार्तिशान्त्यै पवनपुरपते भक्तिपूर्त्यै च भूयाः कृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे.
Very good. I think it's a little bit tough chapter there. Plus the tunes also keep changing. But I think as
15 days gap out, that's what happened.
What happened? Okay, so let's get started with 91 today. I think we have 3 more left, and again, all the 90s chapters are hard chapters, right? They're the 4-liners, little hard ones. So, all right. So, Nikki, first half, Kannan, you can be a student, and Rupa, you can be a student. Okay. So this one is Dashakam 91 is Bhakti Swarupa Varnanam. It is talking about the path of devotion, right? So what is this? So here Bhattacharya is requesting, is first of all, he's justifying why the path of devotion is the best path. That is number first part of it. Then he is also requests that you bless me with this ability to be devoted to you, right? That is the other portion of this, right? So stanza 1. श्रीकृष्णत्वत्पथोपासनमभयतमं बद्धमित्यार्थदृष्टेः मर्त्यस्यार्थस्य मन्ये व्यपसरति भयं येन सर्वात्मनैव यत्तावत्त्वत्प्रणीतानिह भजनविधीन् आस्थितो मोहमार्गे धावन्नप्यावृताक्षस्खलति न कुहचित् देवदेवाखिलात्मन्. So he starts off by saying, "Oh Krishna," right? He addresses straight up saying, "Oh Krishna." He says, "My belief is that there are the couple of problems which humanity, which everybody faces. One of them is we all have a fear of something, right? Anything. It could be fear of anything. It could be fear of people, fear of items, fear of things, or fear of losing something, right?" He says, and this fear of something is happening because I am identifying myself as being different from you. If I associate myself as being you, I will not be afraid of anything. So that is number one. We have a fear of everything. Second thing he says is everybody is suffering because one, they're attached to materialistic things. So like we saw in Kapilopakyanam, the first one, which is Matiriha Guna Sakta Bhandha Kritteshva Sakta. He says anytime attachment to something gives happiness. So whatever I'm attached to, if you remove that out, I'm going to get sad because I'm bound by it. Which means that particular vastu with which we are attached has a bondage with us. We are bound by that vastu, right? So the only way to eradicate sadness is not to be bound to anything, and that is how it starts. Kapilopakyanam. So same thing he says. One is we are afraid of things. Two is we are actually attached to materialistic things, and then we have a deep identification with this body of ours. We are so passionate with our body, right? How we are looking, how my body is doing, how my body parts are functioning. We are so attached to all these three things. He says all these three things are the root cause for all dissatisfaction in this world. He says the one, so he says, "Oh Krishna, I believe that the best way to get away from all of these things is Tvat Pada Upasana, is worshipping your feet. Is worshipping your feet is the only way for me to get away from all these three things of fear, attachment to materialist things, and also attachment to my body." So that's how he starts off, right? First off saying why the devotion itself is important. Otherwise, you're going to be bound by all of these things. Then the second part he says is anyone who is in the path of devotion, right, who's completely devoted to you, so for him, he will not slip even if he runs with his eyes closed, is the example he says. So it's like kanna moodindu, in Tamil they say kanna moodindu odikkiran mari, like you're just running, right, because you're not sure where you are running. He says that's okay as long as you are in devotion. So the example what he really is meaning here is two things. One is, one eye here is referring to Shruti, which is the Vedas. Another is referring to the Smriti, which are things. So Shruti means Vedas are things which are heard. Nobody wrote it, right? These are things which people heard. Smriti are things which people wrote. So Narada Smriti, Manu Smriti, there are a lot of Smritis. So each of these ways, Shruti and Smriti are prescribing how things have to be done in a certain way. Right? There are regulations and rules and procedures, right? We all follow those procedures, right, on a daily basis. But he says, if you are so devoted, it doesn't matter whether you do things wrong as long as you're doing it with devotion. So it's as good as somebody running blind, they will not get hurt because you will take care of me. That's what Bhatripad is saying. He says that is how your devotion is. So if I'm devoted and I'm doing something, and if I make mistakes, whatever mistakes I make, but if I'm doing it as part of devotion, those mistakes will be completely forgiven. It's not relevant anymore, right? That's the main portion here. So Sri Krishna, so this is not Krishna, okay, this is just Krishna. Sri Krishna, Tvatpadopasanam Abhayatamam, comma, Baddha Mityartha Drishtehe. Put a visarga and a comma. Drishtehe. Next line on top of the ma, if you have a ear, you can remove that. Martyasyartasya manye, comma, Vyapasarati bhayam yena sarvatmanaiva. श्रीकृष्णत्वत्पथोपासनमभयतमं बद्धमित्यार्थदृष्टेः मर्त्यस्यार्थस्य मन्ये व्यपसरति भयं येन सर्वात्मनैव
श्रीकृष्ण त्वत्पदोपासनमभयतमं बद्धमित्यार्थदृष्टेः मर्त्यस्यार्थस्य मन्ये व्यपसरति भयं येन सर्वात्मनैव श्रीकृष्ण त्वत्पदोपासनमभयतमं बद्धमित्यार्थदृष्टेः मर्त्यस्यार्थस्य मन्ये व्यपसरति भयं येन सर्वात्मनैव
श्रीकृष्ण त्वत्पदोपासनमभयतं बद्धमित्यार्थदृष्टेः मत्यस्यार्थस्य मन्ये व्यपसरति भयं येन सर्वात्मनैव श्रीकृष्ण त्वत्पदोपासनमभयतं
अभयतमम्
श्रीकृष्ण त्वत्पदोपासनमभयतमं बद्धमित्यार्थदृष्टेः मत्यस्यार्थस्य मन्ये व्यपसरति भयं येन सर्वात्मनैव
यत्तावत् त्वत् प्रणीतानिह भजन vidhin, so that na that is there, we're going to break it. So vidhin, comma, next word starts with astito moha marge, comma, dhavan napyavritakshaha, so that's together. Vritakshaha is there, put a is, dhavan napyavritakshas skhalati na kuhachid. So the next word we're going to break it to, so we put it first, kuhachid, comma, there are double da there. The next word is deva, deva kilatman. Yattavat tvat pranitaniha bhajana vidhin astito moha marge dhavannapyavritaksha skhalati na kuhachit deva kilatman.
यत्तावत् त्वत्प्रणीतानिह भजन विधिन आतितो मोहमार्गे धावन्नप्यावृताक्षस्खलति न कुहचिद् देवदेवाखिलात्मन् यत्तावत् त्वत्प्रणीतानिह भजन विधिन आतितो मोहमार्गे धावन्नप्यावृताक्षस्खलति न कुहचिद् देवदेवाखिलात्मन्
यत्तावत् त्वत्प्रणीतानिह भज विधिना आस्तितो मोहमार्गे धावन्नप्यावृताक्षस्खलित न खलु चिद् देवदेवाखिलात्मन्.
Rupa, the third line, bhajana vidhin, in sound, okay, bhajana vidhin astito, okay, and then a fourth line, skhalati na kuhachit.
Skhalati na kuhachit.
Yeah.
यत्तावत् त्वत्प्रणीतानिह भजन विधीन् आस्तितो मोहमार्गे धावन्नप्यावृताक्षस्खलित न खलु चिद् देवदेवाखिलात्मन्.
Same, you said kahachit, kuhachit, skhalati na kuhachit.
Skhalati na kuhachit, sorry.
Answer 2.
ராஜேஷ் ஒரே ஒரு இது, இப்ப பகவத்கீதையில வந்து பெருமாள் வந்து பக்தி யோகம் சொல்றாரு இல்லையா, இதுல வந்து வெறும் டிவோஷன் தான் சொல்றாரு, அந்த யோகம் அந்த ஸ்டேஜ் வரைக்கும் சொல்லல.
He talks about it. In fact, it comes over multiple chapters. Okay, so the way it lays out is the 90 to 100 right? Each chapter is talking about the various paths to attain devotion and enlightenment. Each chapter is devoted to it, right? So he starts off here by saying why devotion is important. And he starts with. Later on, as he goes on to it, he talks about how do you do that. He talks about meditation. Then even in this chapter, he compares karma yoga and all the yogas. So it continues over a period of 6 chapters. This thing continues. Okay, so but he's talking about bhakti yoga. Yoga means yug, it root word, right? It's union with God. That's what it is. Bhakti yoga is union with God through devotion. That's what it is, right? So Adale, so Anmari, he talks about Adale, he talks about the path of meditation, how you need to do it. All of that will come later also. Okay. So multiple, yeah. So the various things are going to come in the next several chapters of this essentially. Stanza 2. भूमन् कायेन वाचा मुहुरपि मनसा त्वद्बलप्रेरितात्मा यद्यत् कुर्वे समस्तं तदिह परतरे त्वय्यसावर्पयामि जात्यापीह श्वपाकः त्वयि निहितमनः कर्मवागिन्द्रियार्थप्राणो विश्वं पुनीते न तु विमुखमनास्त्वत्पदाद्विप्रवर्यः. So the first two lines is something we are all very familiar with. Essentially, the kayena vacha, which we say, is exactly what he's saying here, right? So here it says, Bhuman kayena vacha. So, like you say, kayena vacha manasendriyerva. So, exactly the same meaning. So, whatever I'm doing with my body, with vacha, with the speech, with the manas, with my mind, and then indriyangal, with through the sensory organs that we have. So, anything I'm doing with through any of that, things which I'm doing buddhyatmanabha. So we say things which I'm doing with my buddhi, with my intellect, and then the atma or the soul is things which are unconsciously what is what the soul is doing, right? Or so whatever I'm doing with that through my atma, and then buddhyatmanava, then prakrite swabhavat. Prakrite swabhavat is the implicit behavior. So some of us have our natural tendencies, right? So naturally we are bound to doing certain activities. So anything I'm doing through my own swabhavam, and karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai. Absolutely whatever I do, I'm surrendering to you. Which is exactly what it says. Yadyat kurve samastam. Whatever I am doing, absolutely everything, I'm toya savarpayami. I'm completely surrendering it to you. So essentially, it is just essentially the kayena vacha's meaning, right? The first two lines. Then the second two lines, he says, a person who is by birth a low caste person, right? So he's not he doesn't have a lot of things available to him. So even a person who's of a low caste, who's thinking with this attitude in his mind of whatever I am doing, I'm surrendering to you, oh Lord, right? My everything with my mind, my energy, everything I'm surrendering to you, is way higher than a person who's vipravaryaha, one who's twice born, one who's a Brahmin, who's born in the highest of classes, but who doesn't think that way. He says that person who's low caste born, even though he doesn't have access to a lot of these things, is not lucky to get access to these things. If he thinks this way, he's better than a higher class person who has access to things but doesn't completely surrender things to you, O Lord. So that's a comparison he's doing here. So bhuman kayena vacha muhurapi manasa, comma tvat bala preritatma, comma यद्यत् कुर्वे samastam tadiha paratare tvaya savarpayami. So that second line is continuous. Bhuman kahena vacha muhurapi manasa त्वद्बल प्रेरितात्मा यद्यत् कुर्वे समस्तं तदिह परतरे त्वय्य सावर्पयामि.
भूमन् कायेन वाचा मुहुरपि मनसा त्वद्बल प्रेरितात्मा यद्यत् कुर्वे समस्तं तदिह परतरे त्वय्य सावर्पयामि. भूमन् कायेन वाचा मुहुरपि मनसा त्वद्बल प्रेरितात्मा यद्यत् कुर्वे समस्तं तदिह परतरे त्वय्य सावर्पयामि.
भूमन् कायेन वाचा मुहुरपि मनसा त्वत्बलप्रेरितात्मा यद्यत् कुर्वे समस्तं तदिह परतरे त्वय्य सावर्पयामि. भूमन् कायेन वाचा मुहुरपि मनसा त्वत्बलप्रेरितात्मा यद्यत् कुर्वे समस्तं तदिह परतरे त्वय्य सावर्पयामि.
Jatya piha Shwapakaha, that is there, remove it, put a visarga and a comma, Shwapakaha. Tvai nihita manaha, put a ich sound, Tvai nihita manah. Karma vag indriyartha, together, karma vag indriyartha, three different words. So karma vag indriyartha, put a plus. prano vishwam punite, and then a comma. So one comma after shvapakaha, second comma after punite in the last line. Na tu vimukha manas tvat padat vipravaryaha. जात्यापीह श्वपाकः त्वयि निहितमनः कर्मवागिन्द्रियार्थप्राणो विश्वं पुनीते न तु विमुखमनास्त्वत्पदाद्विप्रवर्यः
जात्यापीह स्वपकः
श्वपाकः श्वपाकः
जात्यापीह स्वपाकः त्वयि निहितमनः कर्मवाग्नीन्द्रियार्थ प्राणो विश्वं पुनीते न तु विमुख मनात्वत्पदात् विप्रवर्यः जात्यापीह स्वपाकः त्वयि निहितमनः कर्मवाग्नीन्द्रियार्थ प्राणो विश्वं पुनीते न तु विमुखः मनात्वत्पदात् विप्रवर्यः.
The last line after punite there is a comma, okay? Fourth line.
जात्यापि हस्वपाकः त्वयि निहितमनः कर्मवागिन्द्रियार्थप्राणो विश्वं पुनीते न तु विमुखमनाः त्वत्पदा विप्रवर्यः जात्यापि हस्वपाकः त्वयि निहितमनः कर्मवागिन्द्रियार्थप्राणो विश्वं पुनीते न तु विमुखमनाः त्वत्पदा विप्रवर्यः.
Stanza 3. भीतिर्नामद्वितीयाद्भवति ननु मनः कल्पितं च द्वितीयं तेनैक्याभ्यासशीलो हृदयमिह यथा शक्तिबुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्यां माया विद्धेतु तस्मिन् पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायाधिनाथं तं त्वां भक्त्या महत्या सततमनुभजन्नीश भीतिं विजह्याम्. So again, it goes back to the first one. He says, this fear that we are all having, he's saying it's because of our ignorance. He says this fear is coming because consciously we are thinking of an entity which is different from us. And the reason he says you are thinking of something that is different from you, he says it's actually not true. Essentially, he's talking about the Advaitam philosophy here a little bit. He's saying you are thinking that there is something else, but in reality, it is not. He says it is only a projection of your mind, and he gives a very nice example. He says that the way your mind is working, he says, is your soul is so conditioned to think in a particular way. When the moment you are born, you now are conditioned to think in a certain way. So you now go to sleep, you dream of something. You dream that you are buying a bigger house in your sleep. You are looking at a big mansion. So all of a sudden, when you wake up the next day morning, that bigger house now becomes your goal or your expectations. Right? So he says you inside yourself are building a false expectation of what you want, which you then, your own soul is thinking that as a reality. And now you set as the goal, and now you try to beat that. Now if you don't get it, then you're getting disappointed. He says all of this is just a projection of your mind. He says, and this imaginary experience that you are talking about, he says, is very simple, very similar to what happens when you dream and you wake up, right? So I'm sure you all must have probably know about the story of this King Janaka. For those who don't know, I'll say it here. There was a king, and very rich king. Everything was going extremely well for him. So one day he comes to the court in the morning, and then he says, I had this dream last night where all of a sudden there's somebody is attacking our kingdom, and we lose the battle. We lose, and then I'm running. The king is saying, I'm running away, right? Because I'm getting chased. And then we have all of you are dead. He says, all of you are defeated, and we've lost all our wealth, and I'm wearing ragged clothes. He says, I've never seen such clothes before, and I'm walking in the streets of our own kingdom. I'm starving, and I'm feeling that hunger. He says, I'm feeling that hunger, and then all I want is a drop of water. And then I go around begging in the streets for this drop of water. Somebody is coming and is giving me the drop of water. When I'm about to drink that water, a crow is coming and knocking that also out. And now the water has fallen onto the floor, on the mud. He says, I'm trying to drink water from the mud. That is the state I am in. And then he says, I suddenly woke up. Now, we all have had dreams. In our dreams, we absolutely feel this, right? Whatever dreams you had, if you think back, which you can remember, you really feel that you are part of the dream. So this King Janaka is coming and asking, now I'm sitting here. I feel this is real. I feel that the dream was false. But when I was in my dream, the dream was real for me. And the fact that I'm a king was not real for me. I did not know that my dream is wrong when I was in the dream, right? That absolutely feels true. And he says, I felt the hunger in my dream. So he says, what is the truth? Is that my dream the truth or is this the truth? Right? He goes and asks this to his people. So one person comes and there's an interesting Hindi saying. One person says, na ye sach, na wo sach. Bas tu hi sach. Neither is this true nor is that true. Only you as your soul is the truth, and everything you do is just a projection of your mind. That's what that person says as an example, and you all can also contemplate on this later in your free time as to whether your dream is true or if this is true, right? And maybe think about it after you had a dream after in which you woke up, right? So anyway, so here that's what is what Tripat also saying is all of this is a projection of your mind, and that is what is playing all these games with you. See, this is the only way for me to be overcome this projection of the mind is by constantly worshipping you. So satatam anubhajanisha bhitim vijahyam. Only way I can get rid of this the fear is by constantly worshipping you, and that is the only way I can get rid of this fear of duality which I'm actually having. So bhitir nama dvitiyad bhavati nanu, comma manaha, put a sound, manah kalpitam cha dvitiyam, comma तेनैक्याभ्यास शीलो हृदयमिह, यथा शक्ति बुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्याम् भीतिर्नामद्वितीयाद्भवति ननु मनः कल्पितं च द्वितीयं तेनैक्याभ्यासशीलो हृदयमिह यथा शक्ति बुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्याम्.
भीतिर्नाम द्वितीयात् भवति ननु मनः कल्पितं च द्वितीयं तेनैक्याभ्यासशीलो हृदयमिह यथा शक्ति बुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्याम्. भीतिर्नाम द्वितीयात् भवति ननु मनः कल्पितं च द्वितीयं तेनैक्याभ्यासशीलो हृदयमिह यथा शक्ति बुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्याम्.
भीतिर्नाम द्वितीयाद् भवति तनु मनः कल्पितं च द्वितीयं तेनेक्याभ्यासशीलो हृदयमिह यथा शक्ति बुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्याम्. भीतिर्नाम द्वितीयाद् भवति तनु
ननु, sorry Rupa, nanu,
not tanu,
nanu.
Okay. भीतिर्नाम द्वितीयाद् भवति ननु मनः कल्पितं च द्वितीयं तेनैक्याभ्यासशीलो हृदयमिह यथा शक्ति बुद्ध्या निरुन्ध्याम्.
माया विद्धे तु तस्मिन्, पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायाधिनाथं, तं त्वां भक्त्या महत्या, सततम अनुभजन ईश. If you want to break it, you can break it. सततम अनुभजन ईश भीतिम विजह्याम, ह्या sound, विजह्याम. माया विद्धे तु तस्मिन् पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायाधिनाथं तं त्वां भक्त्या महत्या सततम अनुभजन ईश भीतिम विजह्याम.
माया विद्येतु तस्मिन् पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायादिनाथं तं त्वां भक्त्या महत्या सततमनुभजनीशा भीतिं विजज्ञाम्. माया विद्येतु तस्मिन् पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायादिनाथं तं त्वा भक्त्या महत्या सततमनुभजनीशा भीतिं विजह्याम्.
माया विद्वेतु तस्मिन् पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायाधिनाथं तं त्वां भक्त्या महत्या सततमनुभजन्नीशभीतिं विजह्याम् माया विद्येतु
Vidhe.
तस्मिन्
Sorry, Rupa. I'm hearing a ya sound there. It's just Maya Vidhe.
विद्धे.
Yeah.
Okay. माया विद्धेतु तस्मिन् पुनरपि न तथा भाति मायाधिनाथं तं त्वां भक्त्या महत्या सततमनुभजन्नीश भीतिं विजह्याम्.
Stanza 4. भक्तेरुत्पत्ति वृद्धि तव चरणजुषां संगमेनैव पुंसाम् आसाध्ये पुण्यभाजां श्रियैव जगति श्रीमतां संगमेन तत्संगो देव भूयान् मम खलु सततं तन्मुखात् उन्मिषद्भिः त्वन्माहात्म्यप्रकारैर्भवति च सुदृढा भक्तिरुद्धूतपापा. It's a very beautiful stanza here. Bhattipat is saying that previous stanza he spoke about how the one way to get rid of this duality and also to get more discrimination in your mind, to be able to separate it out, is by getting more bhakti. So he says, how do you get that bhakti? He says, first to begin with, even for a spark of devotion to come to you, he says you should have performed some good deed in your past life. If you have performed some good deed in your past life, that's when the first spark of devotion in this life you're going to get, right? And depends on your karma, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But if you have, unless you perform some good deeds, you won't even get that spark of devotion. Once you get that spark of devotion, which is now you have to build up on it, right? So here he's giving a very clear way. He says, if you want to become rich, what do? Do you go talk to the poorest guy in the village if you want to become rich, or a city? No. What do? You follow Warren Buffett and Elon Musk on Twitter, right? To see what they are tweeting as to which one to buy. That's what you do. He says, if you Shriya Iva Jagati, if you want to become rich in this world, what do? Srimatam Sangamena. You only go and partner or work with people who are prosperous already, because that's when you can become better. See, similarly, for you to get bhakti, he says, Srimata, you have to get Sangame, Charan, Tava Charana Jusham, people who are devoted to your feet. I want to be associated with them, right? Only by being associated with people who are devoted to you, I am also going to get blessed, and I am also going to get more devotion to you. She says, you please bless me so that I am always associated with people who are devoted to you, because by being around them, I will also get more devoted. Just like how if I want to get rich, I'm going to associate myself with richer people. So very simple logic, and that's why, even in our Sanatanama they say, right, the sangam that we create is extremely important, right? Because that's how you build upon each other, right? That is the first part. Then he says that is helping you get the trigger of devotion, but how you build up on it, he says, just again like how we all have started with, right? When you're small, people will say you don't have to do any prayers, just say Rama Rama Rama, just you say that, right? Or just hear, right? Because we know once you start hearing, then you just start saying Rama Rama, then you will say Hare Rama Hare Krishna mantra, then you'll go read Vishnu Sahasranamam, we'll graduate, and then we'll get more and more into what we are doing. So that's exactly what he's saying. Just get a spark, then you associate yourself with people who are in the similar lines, and that's the only way your bhakti is going to grow, it's going to increase. And so he says, please bless me so that I'm always associated with people who are Twan Mahatmya Prakare, people who are always talking about your greatness, and that's all they're focused on, and that's the request he's having here. So Bhakter Utpatti Vriddhi, Tava Charana Jusham Sangamenaiva Pumsam, put a im at the end of that line, comma. Next line the ma becomes a, asadhye punya bhajam, comma, shriya iva jagati shrimatam sangamena. Bhakterutpatti vriddhi tava charana jusham sangamena pumsam asadhye punya bhajam shriya iva jagati shrimatam sangamena.
भक्तेर उत्पत्ति वृद्धि तव चरण जुषाम संगमे नैव पुंसाम आसाद्ये पुण्यभाजाम श्रिय इव जगति श्रीमताम संगमेन. भक्तेर उत्पत्ति वृद्धि तव चरण जुषाम संगमे नैव पुंसाम आसाद्ये पुण्यभाजाम श्रियैव जगति श्रियैव जगति श्रीमतां संगमेन
भक्तेरुत्पत्तिवृद्धि तव चरणजुषां सङ्गमेनैव पुंसाम् आसाद्ये पुण्यभाजां श्रिय इव जगति श्रीमतां सङ्गमेन भक्तेरुत्पत्तिवृद्धि तव चरणजुषां सङ्गमेनैव पुंसाम् आसाद्ये पुण्यभाजां श्रिय इव जगति श्रीमतां सङ्गमेन
तत्संगो देव भूयान् मम खलु सततं कॉमा तन्मुखात् उन्मिषद्भिः. So put a visarga at the end. Unmishadbihi, comma. Next line, if you have a is, that is goes away. Twan mahatmya prakarair bhavati cha sudrudha, comma. Bhaktir uddhuta, if you want to break it, bhaktir uddhuta papa. तत्संगो देव भूयान् मम खलु सततं तन्मुखात् उन्मिषद्भिः त्वन्माहात्म्य प्रकारैर्भवति च सुदृढा भक्तिरुद्धूत पापा.
तत्संगो देव भूयान् मम खलु सततं तन्मुखात् उन्मिषद्भिः त्वन्माहात्म्य प्रकारैर्भवति च सुदृढा भक्तिरुद्धूत पापा. तत्संगो देव भूयान् मम खलु सततं तन्मुखात् उन्मिषद्भिः त्वन्माहात्म्य प्रकारैर्भवति च सुदृढा भक्तिरुद्धूत पापा.
तत्संगो देव भूयान् मम खलु सततं तन्मुखाद् उन्मिषद्भिः त्वन्माहात्म्य प्रकारे भवति च सुदृढा भूतपापाम्. तत्संगो देव भूयान् मम खलु सततं तन्मुखाद् उन्मिषद्भिः त्वन्माहात्म्य प्रकारे भवति च सुदृढा भक्तिरुद्धूत पापा.
श्रेयो मार्गेषु भक्तावधिक बहुमतिर्जन्म कर्माणि भूयो गायन् क्षेमानि नामान्यपि तदुभयतः प्रद्रुतात्मा उद्यद्धासः कदाचित् कुहचिदपि रुधन् क्वापि गर्जन् प्रगायन् उन्मादीव प्रणुत्यन् अयि कुरु करुणां लोकबाह्यश्चरेयम्. So he says here, among all the paths, margeshu, doing the various paths of yoga, right? Like we said, yoga is just meaning, root word is union with God. That's the meaning of yoga. Now there are multiple ways, right? There's karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, and we'll cover some of that in the later chapters. But here is summarizing, saying among all these paths, the best path is the path of devotion. So he says, you please bless me. So I stick to this path of devotion where I'm always singing, gayan. I'm always singing about various things, janma, karmani, about your birth. I'm singing, but singing also means reciting. It could be, you can take it however you want, about your birth, about the karmani, about the various activities you have actually done, and kshemani, and about namani, about your names, which are giving significant blessings. Just your name, right? So you are like also familiar with Vishnu Sahasranamam. Bhishma says there, yani namani gaunani vikyatani mahatmanah rishabeh parigitani tani vakshyami bhutaye. He says you don't have to do anything. You only have to say the names of the Lord. You don't even have to do anything. Just say his names. And he says there are thousands of names, not thousand names, thousands of names. But I am going to give you the select 1,000 names which are Rishibi Parigitani, even the great rishis meditate on. And then he says the 1,000 names of Narayana, right? Vishnu. So that's what he says. So here Bhattacharya is saying the same thing. I'll be singing, I'll be praising your incarnations about your thing, and also just saying your name. So please bless me so I get on that path. And then in the very end, he also says that, and you all are familiar with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? The one who introduced this concept of dancing and singing without worrying about what others are thinking. So similarly, Bhattacharya says, when I sometimes get this intense devotion, maybe in the future, he's not saying now, He says, I might be singing like a madman, I might be crying sometimes, I might be laughing sometimes, I might be dancing sometimes. And then when I do that, people are going to probably laugh at me, saying this is some mad guy, he's crying, right? When he's praying, he's crying, or when he's laughing, sometimes like a crazy person. She says, please protect me so that I do not get influenced by all of these things, right? And then I want to continue the devotions. You please bless me so that in the future, if I get intensely devoted to you, all of these feelings may arise in me as well. So, Shreyo Margeshu, comma, Bhaktavadika Bahumatir Janma Karmani Bhuyo, and then put a plus, Gayan Kshemani Namanyapi. So, and then a comma after that. So, after Shreyo Margeshu, one comma, and then after Namanyapi, one comma. Tadubayataha, put a F, Tadubayatah, Pradrutam Pradrutatma. Shreyo Margeshu Bhaktavadika Bahumate Janma Karmani Bhuyo Gayan Kshemani Namanyapi Thadubayatah Pradrutam Pradrutatma.
Shreyo Margeshu Bhaktavadika Bahumatir Janma Karmani Bhuyo Gayan Kshemani Namanyapi Tadubayatah Pradrutam Pradrutatma. Shreyo Margeshu Bhaktavadika Bahumatir Janma Karmani Bhuyo Gayan Kshemani Namanyapi Tadubayatah Pradrutam Pradrutatma.
Shreyo Margeshu Bhaktavadika Bahumatir Janma Karmani Bhuyo Gayan Kshemani Namanyapi Tadubhayatah Pradyutam Pradyutatma. Shreyo Margeshu Bhaktavadika Bahumatir Janma Karmani Bhuyo Gayan Kshemani Namanyapi Tadubhayatah Pradyutam Pradyutatma.
So, Angandarupan, the second line, Pradrutam Pradrudhatma Dra.
Pradrutam Pradrutatma.
Yeah.
Pradrutam.
Udhyadhasaha, is there? Put a ich sound. Udhyadhasah kadachit kuhachidapi rudan, comma, kwapi garjan pragaya. You might have a dash, so you have to put a plus. So we're going to say that together. So you can, best way is to put a in at the end of that line and then put a plus. Okay. So kwapi garjan pragayan Unmadiva, it becomes the next line. Unmadiva pranutyan, and then a comma. So I'll repeat it. So kuhachidapi rudan, comma, kwapi garjan pragayan unmadiva pranutyan, and then a comma. It has got a double na, so next word becomes a. Ai kuru karunam loka bhahyash chareyam. Udhyadhasah kadachit kuhachidapi rudan kwapi garjan pragayan unmadiva pranutyan aikuru karunam loka bhahyaschareyam.
Udyadhasah kadachit kuhachidapi rudan Kwapi garjan pragayan unmadiva pranatyan ayi kuru karunam loka bhagyashchareyam udyadhasa kadachit kuhachidapi rudan kwapi garjan pragayan unmadiva pranatyan ayi kuru karunam loka bhagyashchareyam.
Udhyadhyasa. Is that correct?
Udhyadhasah.
Udhyadhyasa kadachit kuhachidapi rudan kwapi garjan pragayan unmadiva pranityan aikuru karunam loka bhahyeshwareyam.
Rupa, on the first line, third line, first word, sorry. Udyadhasah. You are saying dhya, it's dhasa.
Dhasa. Udyadhasa.
Yeah.
उद्यद्धासः कदाचित् कुहचिदपि रुदन् क्वापि गर्जन् प्रगायन् उन्मादीव प्रनृत्यन् अयि कुरु करुणां लोकबाह्येश्वरेयम्.
So we'll just shift now. Radha, can you be student? And then Tulsi, you can be student. Okay, second half. Stanza 6. Bhutanyetani bhutatmakamopi sakalam pakshimtsyan mrigadhin martyan mitrani shatrunapi yamitamatistvannmayan jnanamani त्वत्सेवायां हि सिद्धेन् मम तव कृपया भक्तिधार्ढ्यं विरागस्त्वत्तत्त्वस्यावबोधोऽपि च भुवनपते यत्नभेदं विनैव. So he's now asking, moving forward. So each of the stanzas are building on each other, right? So he says, once I reach that level of bhakti where I don't care, right? I'm having all these varying emotions and I'm not caring about what people are thinking about how I am feeling. He says, then I want to reach a state where all the bhutani, the pancha bhutam, the agni, vayu, jalam, akasham, all of these things, as well as bhutatmaka, things which are formed from those five beings, which is everything in this universe. So everything which is naturally in this universe is a combination of these five elements. So all the things which are in this universe, as well as matsyan, fishes, pakshi, which is like the birds, animals, other mortals, my friends, mitran, shatrunapi, even my enemies. So all of them, I want to think of them as your form only. That none of them are different from you. So I want to get to that state. Now, of course, do any of us think of it that way? None of us probably are, right? If we are, then we are much more liberated state if we are able to think of that way. So he's saying, but he says, I want to get to that state. So please bless me, right? And as we are saying, we are also asking for the same blessing. You're saying, you bless me, so I reach a level of maturity where I think all of them are just you. And I don't see any difference between any of these people, between any animals, or if a snake comes, we're going to run first. At least I would, right? Because we don't think that it is the same law, right? So we don't think of it that way, right? Even the same thing with a dog. So here, some of us, I know Deepa is a big fan of dogs, so I won't say generalize it. But when I went to a house, I said I'm not going to come in if the dog is there. But anyway, but I think because we are not reached that level of maturity where we say that everybody is the same, right? Your friends, enemies, or any of these things. So he says, please bless me with it, so I reach that state. And once I reach that state, then it will only become better, because bhakti dhardhyam, then my intense devotion to you will always increase, and then by that I will reach that supreme state, or I'll get the state of liberation where I'll also get the knowledge and I will get the bhakti. All of it is accomplished together. So bhutan yetani bhutatmakam api sakalam, comma, pakshi matsyan mrigadin, comma, martyan mitrani shatrunapi, comma, yamita matis twan mayan yanamani, short e at the end. Bhutanyetani bhutatmakamapi sakalam pakshimtsyan mrigadhin martyan mitrani shatrunapi yamitamatistvannmayan yanamani.
भूतान्येतानि भूतात्मकमपि सकलं पक्षिमत्स्यान् मृगादीन् मर्त्यान् मित्राणि शत्रूनपि यमितमदिः त्वन्मयान्यानमानि भूतान्येतानि भूतात्मकमपि सकलं पक्षिमत्स्यान् मृगादीन् मर्त्यान् मित्राणि शत्रूनपि यमितमदिः त्वन्मयान्यानमानि.
भूतान्येतानि भूतात्मकमपि सकलं पक्षिमत्स्यान् मृगादीन् मर्त्यान् मित्राणि शत्रूनपि यमितमतिस्त्वन्मयान्यानमानि भूतान्येतानि भूतात्मकमपि सकलं पक्षिमत्स्यान् मृगादीन् मर्त्यान् मित्राणि शत्रूनपि यमितमतिस्त्वन्मयान्यानमानि.
Tvat sevayam hi siddhin mama tava kripaya, comma, bhakti dhardhyam viraga is there, put a plus, bhakti dhardhyam viragas. So this next word is a little bit of a tongue twister. Tvat tat tas tvasyavabhodopi. Okay. Tvat tat tvasyavabhodopi cha bhuvanapate, and then comma. So after third line siddhen mama tava kripaya, there is a comma, and then the whole thing is together. Then after bhuvanapate, there is a comma in the fourth line. Yatna bhedam vinaiva. त्वत्सेवायां हि सिद्धेन् मम तव कृपया भक्तिधार्ढ्यं विरागस्त्वत्तत्त्वस्यावबोधोऽपि च भुवनपते यत्नभेदं विनैव.
त्वत्सेवायां हि सिद्ध्येत् मम तव कृपया भक्तिदार्ढ्यं विरागस्त्वत्तत्त्वस्यावबोधोऽपि च भुवनपते यज्ञभेदं विनैव. त्वत्सेवायां हि सिद्ध्येत् मम तव कृपया भक्तिदार्ढ्यं विरागस्त्वत्तत्त्वस्यावबोधोऽपि च भुवनपते यज्ञभेदं विनैव.
And then the third line, it's although the word is siddhyet and then mama, because ma is coming, it becomes a in. So siddhyen mama, in sound.
அது என்னோட புக்ல இத்து போட்டிருக்கு.
If it is written as two different words, it's siddhyet mama, but because it is coming together, it becomes a in automatically.
So in அங்க in போட்டு.
Yeah, replace the it with the in.
Okay,
One
thank
second. The sun is shining right on my face.
त्वत्सेवायां हि सिद्ध्येन्मम तव कृपया भक्तिताढ्यं विरागस्त्वत्तत्त्वस्यावबोधोऽपि च भुवनपते यत्नभेदं विनैव. त्वत्सेवायां हि सिद्ध्येन्मम तव कृपया भक्तिताढ्यं त्वत्तत्त्वस्यावबोधोऽपि च भुवनपते यत्नभेदं विनैव.
Stanza 7. नो मुह्यन् क्षुत्रिडाध्यैर्भवसरणिभवैः त्वन्निलीनाशयत्वात् चिन्ता सातत्यशाली निमिषलवमपि त्वत्पदादप्रकम्पः इष्टानिष्टेषु तुष्टिव्यसनविरहितो मायिकत्वावबोधात् ज्योत्स्नाभिस्त्वन्नखेन्दोः अधिकशिशिरितेनात्मना सञ्चरेयम्. So now he's continuing to build upon it. He says that once you reach that level of devotion, he says, I should bless me. So I reach a level of devotion where all the sufferings of the universe, right, that not feeling hunger or thirst, I'm not affected by any of that, right, because my mind is always in God. So that is very important, right? So if you fall sick, you will not feel hungry. So you can't go and say, you know what, doctor, you know what, actually I don't care about not feeling sick, hungry anymore, because Bhattaripad has said in stanza 7, Dasakam 91, if I'm not feeling sick, that means I've already reached the state of liberation. That is not the case. He says, if you are always devoted, so when we in Ekadashi, when we do Patni and we do, if you're not praying, you'll feel hungry actually. You'll be always thinking, because you have nothing else to do, you'll always be thinking about hunger. But if you are busy, if you're doing some parayanam or you're doing something, your mind is engrossed in the devotion, you're not going to feel that hunger and states. He says, I should reach that state, so I do not feel hunger. And he says, Nimisha lavamapi. He said, I should reach a state where not even for one moment, a fraction of a second, I should not be thinking about you. I should not have that state. So which is like so hard, right? For us even to take 15 minutes a day, right? It's a problem. We have to prioritize things. He says, I should reach a state, you bless me, where not even for a fraction of a second, my mind should deviate about not thinking about you. And that is, and he says, and the second part he says is, no matter things which are favorable or unfavorable to me, I should treat them the same. So that is literally almost impossible for us, because we all have our favorites, we all have our not favorites, right? So in the Mahapariva, once There's a story, I only heard it. So when he ate one day, somebody served him katrikai curry, right? Now brinjal. Now, of course, I'm not a fan of that, so I don't know how it tastes. But he ate it and he really liked it, right? Or he felt that he liked it. So he asked, "Who made this?" Right? So the moment he said that, he also being a realized soul, he said the next 1 week he went on a patni, he went on fasting, because the moment I like something, right? Next, I'm going to ask who made it, and the next time you're not serving me that, I will ask for it next. She says, I should not reach the point where I like something and I do not like something. It should all be the same, favorable and unfavorable things, right? She says, Bhattiprabhu was saying, I should please bless me so I reach that state where anything which is favorable, unfavorable, I treat them all the same and I do not have those differentiators, right, between those things. So, no muhyan kshut tridadhyair bhava sarani bhavaihi. So that is there, remove it, put a visarga and a comma, bhavaihi. Twan nilinasha yatvat. So put a it. Twan nilinasha yatvat. It and then a comma. Second line, if you have a ich, the small cha, half cha, remove that off. Then it becomes chinta satatya shali nimisha lavamapi Tvat padad. The next word, if you want to break it, you can say Tvat padad aprakampaha. That's how to break it. Or you can say it together. Tvat padad aprakampaha. So second line, there is no pause. It is continuous. Okay. No muhyan kshutridadhyir bhavasarani bhavaihi twan nilinashayatvat chinta satatya shali nimishalavamape tvat padad aprakampaha.
No muhyan shutridaadhyairбhavasarani bhavaihi त्वन्नीलिनाशयत्वात् सादत्यशाली निमिषलवमपि त्वत्पदादप्रकम्बः नो मुह्यन् शुत्रिडाद्यैर्भवसरणि भवैः त्वन्नीलिनाशयत्वात् सादत्यशाली निमिषलवमपि त्वत्पदादप्रकम्बः.
नो मुह्यन् क्षुत्रुडाद्यैर्भवसरणि त्वन्नीलीनाशयत्वात् चिन्ता सातत्यशाली निमिषलवमपि त्वत्पदादप्रकम्पः नो मुह्यन् क्षुत्रुडाद्यैर्भवसरणि भवैः त्वन्नीलिनाशयत्वात् चिन्ता सातत्यशाली निमिषलवमपि त्वत्पदादप्रकम्पः
इष्टा निष्टेषु तुष्टि व्यसन विरहितो कॉमा मायि कत्वावबोधात् it मायि कत्वावबोधात् comma. Next line, the ij that you have that goes away. There are two ij, at least Sanskrit I'm telling, two ij, one of them goes away. Jyotsnabhis tvanna khendoho. So the ra that is there, remove it, put a visarga and a comma. Tvanna khendoho, comma. Next word becomes a adhika shishirite natmana. That's one word. Shishirite natmana sanchareyam. इष्टानिष्टेषु तुष्टिव्यसनविरहितो मायिकत्वावबोधात् ज्योत्स्नाभिस्त्वन्नखेन्दोः अधिकशिशिरितेनात्मना सञ्चरेयम्.
इष्टानिष्टेषु तुष्टिव्यसनविरहितो मायिकत्वावबोधात् ज्योत्स्नाभिस्त्वन्नखेन्दोः अधिकशिशिरितेनात्मना सञ्चरेयम्. इष्टानिष्टेषु तुष्टिव्यसनविरहितो मायिकत्वावबोधात् ज्योत्स्नाभिस्त्वन्नखेन्दोः अधिकशिशिरितेनात्मना सञ्चरेयम्।
इष्टानिष्टेषु तुष्टिव्यसनविरहितो मायिकत्वावबोधात् ज्योत्स्नाभिस्त्वन्नखेन्दोः अधिकशिशिरितेनात्मना सञ्चरेयम्। इष्टानिष्टेषु तुष्टिव्यसनविरहितो मायिकत्वावबोधात् ज्योत्स्नाभिस्त्वन्नखेन्दोः अधिकशिशिरितेनात्मना सञ्चरेयम्।
Answer 8. भूतेष्वेषु त्वधैक्यस्मृतिसमधिगतौ नाधिकारोऽधुना चेत् त्वत्प्रेम त्वत्कमैत्री जडमतिषु कृपा द्वित्सु भूयादुपेक्षा अर्चायां वा समर्चा कुतुकमुरुतर श्रद्धया वर्धतां मे त्वत्संसेविततापि धृतमुपलभते भक्तलोकोत्तमत्वम्. So everything that Bhattaripada has been saying so far has been so, or like what do you call, PhD level or post PhD level for us, right? It's very complicated things, even to comprehend. It's very difficult. Forget actually following it, right? For most people, I don't want to generalize, right? For most people. So he says, while this is so hard, and he says, Bhattaripada is saying, I myself am not in that state yet. Right? He says, I myself am not in that state yet. So he says, for people like me who are not yet achieved that state, please at least bless for now with, at least bless me with Tvat Prema. Bless me, so at least have love towards you. I may not be treating everybody as the same, right? But at least bless me so that I love you, and then I have friendliness or likingness for people who are similar, who also love you. That is something we can all request for, right? At least please bless me so that Krishna, I love you all the time. I also like people who love you all the time. Those are all very simple. And even if somebody who tells me that don't worship, I don't have to hate him. I don't have to think of him as you also. But at least I don't have to hate him, right? So it's just basic steps. So even people who may be ignorant, let me not have enmity towards them, right? Just because they don't agree with my thoughts, which is very relevant in today's climate, right? So he says, I don't have to hate them, but I don't have to think that that they are also you. At least that much I don't have to. So somebody is worshipping, and he says, for me, you bless me so that archayam, that I'm eager to worship your images but your idol and your image, and by that vardhata, may my devotion towards you always continuously increase. Says that is what he's requesting. He's saying, by all of those things are nice to have things. For now, please bless that I'm always loving you and loving people who like you and not hating anybody, which is a reasonably good start, right? So bhuteshveshu tvadaikya smriti samadhi gatau, comma, nadhika rodhuna chet. So put it at the end of that line, chet, comma. Next line, if you have two it, one of that it goes away. Tvat prema tvatka maitri jadamatishu kripa, comma, dvitsu bhuyadupeksha. भूतेष्वेषु त्वदैक्यस्मृतिसमधिगतौ नाधिकारोऽधुना चेत् त्वत्प्रेम त्वत्कमैत्री जडमतिषु कृपा द्वित्सु भूयादुपेक्षा.
भूतेष्वेषु त्वदैक्यस्मृतिसमधिगतौ नाधिकारोऽधुना चेत् त्वत्प्रेम त्वत्कमैत्री जडमतिषु कृपा द्वित्सु भूयादुपेक्षा. भूतेष्वेषु त्वदैक्यस्मृतिसमधिगतौ नाधिकारोऽधुना चेत् त्वत्प्रेम त्वत्कमैत्री जडमतिषु कृपा द्वित्सु भूयादुपेक्षा.
भूतेष्वेषु त्वदैक्यस्मृतिसमधिगतौ नादिकारो धुना चेत् त्वत्प्रेम त्वत्कमैत्रिजडमतिषु कृपा वित्सु भूयादुपेक्षा भूतेष्वेषु त्वदैक्यस्मृतिसमधिगतौ नादिकारोऽधुना चेत् त्वत्प्रेम त्वत्कमैत्रिजडमतिषु कृपा वित्सु भूयादुपेक्षा
Archayam va samarcha kutukam urutara. If you want to break it, you can break it that ma. Kutukam urutara shraddhaya vardhatam me. So that entire line is together, comma. Tvat samsevi tathapi drutamupalabhathe, comma. Bhakta lokottamatvam. अर्चायां वा समर्चा कुतुकमुरुतर श्रद्धया वर्धतां मे त्वत्संसेवी तथापि द्रुतमुपलभते भक्तलोकोत्तमत्वम्
अर्चायां वा समर्चा कुतुकमुरुतर श्रद्धया वर्धतां मे त्वत्संसेवी तथा विद्रुतमुपलभते भक्तलोकोत्तमत्वम् अर्चायां वा समर्चा कुतुकमुरुतर श्रद्धया वर्धतां मे त्वत्संसेवी तथा विद्रुतमुपलभते भक्तलोकोत्तमत्वम्
अर्चायां वा समर्चा कुतुकमुरुत
कुतुकम् उरुतर
समर्चा कुतुकमुरुतर श्रद्धया वर्धतां मे त्वत्सांसेवि तदापि द्रुतमुपलभते भक्तलोकोत्तमत्वम् अर्चायां वा समार्चा कुतुकमुरुतर श्रद्धया वर्धतां मे त्वत्सांसेवि तदापि द्रुतमुपलभते भक्तलोकोत्तमत्वम्.
This is a small thing, just it make it easy for you. So that third line, samarcha kutukam urutara shraddhaya. Shraddhaya is a separate word, right? So kutukam urutara shraddhaya vardhatam me.
Sure.
Okay, that's a 9. आवृत्य त्वत्स्वरूपं क्षितिजलमरुदाध्यात्मना विक्षिपन्ति जीवान् भूयिष्ठकर्मावलिविवशगतीन् दुःखजाले क्षिपन्ति त्वन्मायामाभिभून्मामयि भुवनपते कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्ये त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यवधदै विपो सिद्धयोगी प्रबुद्धः. So like you were saying earlier, once you reach that state where you realize that all of these things, which are the air, water, and all the panchabhutam, all of these are just projections of your maya. If I come to that realizations, then life is easy, because then like we said, it started earlier. Everything I assume is you. I will not have any discrimination or differentiation, and things is easy. But he says none of us are there, and all of these projections of your maya, because of this, what is happening is all of us are stuck in this dukkha jale, in this nest of sufferings, which are purely because of our karmavali, because of our karma, right? That's what he's saying. We are all stuck because of this. So there are two options here, he says. One is you reach a level of realization that you are not bothered by anything that is happening. So none of us are in that state. So he says, if I'm not in that state, please bless me so I can overcome the influence of your maya. Right now, that maya is not just loosely giving us all problems, right? He says very clearly it is because of my karma only, right? So the prarabdha, so with this, as you all know, there's a big what do you call, your entire bank balance of karma is there, which is a sanchita karma, which is what money is sitting in your bank account, right? Karma sitting in your bank account. Then when you take birth, you decide, I'm going to spend so much karma in this janma. Like when you're going out shopping, you withdraw some cash. So it's like that, right? So that is the prarabdha karma, which you decide that I'm going to take a portion of that sanchita karma and take birth. And so there's no way to escape the effects of that. You are bound to face it, right? So the only option he says is either I should be so mature that I ignore everything that is happening, but since I'm not that mature, you please bless me. So I'm not impacted as much. I can overcome, I can get over these things, right? And that's number one. And number two is more importantly, the new karma I'm accumulating, make sure I'm not accumulating bad karma as a result. That is the second blessing he's asking for in this, right? So those are the two things he's saying here. So avritya tvat swarupam, comma, kshiti jala marudadhyatmana vikshipanti, comma, जीवान भूयिष्ठ कर्मावलि विवश गतीन, कॉमा, दुःख जाले क्षिपन्ति. आवृत्य त्वत्स्वरूपं क्षितिजलमरुधाध्यात्मना विक्षिपन्ति जीवान् भूयिष्ठ कर्मावलि विवश गतीन दुःखजाले क्षिपन्ति.
आवृत्य त्वत्स्वरूपं क्षितिजलमरुदात्यात्मना विक्षिपन्ति जीवान् भूयिष्ठकर्मावलिविवशगतीन् दुःखजाले क्षिपन्ति. आवृत्य त्वत्स्वरूपं क्षितिजलमरुदात्यात्मना विक्षिपन्ति जीवान् भूयिष्ठकर्मावलिविवशगतीन् दुःखजाले क्षिपन्ति.
आवृत्या त्वत्स्वरूपं मरुदाध्यात्मना विक्षिपन्ति जीवान् भूयिष्ठकर्मावलि विवशगतीन् दुःखजाले क्षिपन्ति.
Tulsi, we lost you.
आवृत्या त्वत्स्यात्मना.
Tulsi, we lost. Yeah, no, I think we lost you the second time. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. I'll be loud enough. आवृत्या त्वत्स्वरूपं क्षितिजलमरुधात्मना विक्षिपन्ति जीवान् भूयिष्ठकर्मावलिविवशगतीन् दुःखजाले क्षिपन्ति.
त्वन्माया माभिभून् मामयि भुवनपते, कॉमा, कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्यै, कॉमा, त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यव, so that's one word, भक्तिरेवेत्यव ददै विभो, कॉमा, सिद्ध योगी प्रबुद्धः. त्वन्मायामाभिभून्मामयि भुवनपते कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्यै त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यवददै विभो सिद्धयोगी प्रबुद्धः.
त्वन्मायामाभिभूत्मामयि भुवनपते कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्यै त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यवददै विभो सिद्धयोगी प्रबुद्धः.
Or rather, Ingi, on the same as last time, the ma bi bhoon. I know you'll have a it there because ma bi bhoot and ma mai, but it becomes a in. So ma bi bhoon, in.
Ma bi
Bhoon. Bhoon ma mai.
Bhoon ma.
Yeah, bhoon ma mai. Yeah.
Bhoon ma. Okay. त्वन्मायामाभिभून्मामयि भुवनपते कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्यै त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यवददै विभो सिद्धयोगी प्रबुद्धः.
त्वन्मायामाभिभून्मामयि भुवनपते कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्यै त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यवददै विभो सिद्धयोगी प्रबुद्धः. त्वन्मायामाभिभून्मामयि भुवनपते कल्पते तत्प्रशान्त्यै त्वत्पादे भक्तिरेवेत्यवददै विभो सिद्धयोगी प्रबुद्धः.
Last stanza. We only have 5 minutes. We'll go fast on this. So in the last one, he says, I am now reached a state where I can actually, if we kind of take a step back, right? He's saying, I can see that people are all suffering everywhere, right? I can see that this world is full of sufferings. So he says, one way I want to be able to get away from that is to understand your true nature. And he says, for that, you bless me so that I have an appropriate spiritual master who can guide me. And more importantly, that is Guna Charita Katha. He says, even if nothing, at least very basic, I want to be start talking about your greatness, about all the greatness you have done, the glories and your deeds and everything that you have done. By constantly talking about it, hearing about it, saying about it, he says, I will get more and more devoted to you, and that devotion is, one, going to give me extreme happiness, and two, it's going to help me cross the maya, that like what we discussed early, right? How do I overcome that? It is going to bless me. So for that, the first step, he says, the first step for me is, you please give me devotion and please eradicate all the ailments I'm having so that I can get going on this journey. So with that, he ends this path of devotion chapter. So Dukkan Yalokya Jantushvalam Udita, if you want to break it, Jantushvalam Udita Vivekoham Acharya Varyath. Put a it at the end of that line. So I'll say it once more. First put a it at the end and a comma, and there's no comma in between. Dukkan Yalokya Jantushvalam Udita Vivekoham Acharya Varyath, comma. Next line, if you have a ill, that goes away. Labdhva Twadrupa Tattvam, comma. Guna Charita Kathat Yudbhavat Bhakti Bhuma. So the dya that is there, you can break it. Kathat Yudbhavat Bhakti Bhuma. So Radha and Tulsi, just say one time, okay? We are out of time. Dukkan Yalokya Jantushvalamudita Vivekoham Acharya Varyate Labdhva Twadrupa Tattvam Gunacharita Kathat Yudbhavat Bhakti Bhuma.
Dukkanyalokya jandushvalam udita vivekoham acharya vadyate labdhva twadrupatatvam gunacharita katat yudbhavat bhakti bhuma.
दुःखान्यालोक्य जन्तुष्वलमुदित विवेकोऽहमाचार्य वर्यात् लब्ध्वा त्वद्रूपतत्त्वं गुणचरितकदाद्युद्भवत् भक्तिभूमा.
At the end of the first line, there is a comma, okay? After Acharya Varyat.
Sure. Oh, yeah, forgot, yeah.
Maya menam taritva, comma, parama sukhamaye tvatpade moditahe, comma, tasyayam purvarangaha, comma, pavana purapate nashayashesha rogan. Maya menam taritva parama sukhamaye tvatpade moditahe Tasyayam Purvarangaha Pavanapurapate Nashaya Shesha Rogan.
Maya menam taritva paramasukamaye tvatpade moditahe tasyayam purvarangaha pavanapurapate nashaya sesharogan.
Rather than the fourth line, first word Tasyayam. I think you said yam.
Oh, tasyayam
purvaranga. Tasyayam purvaranga.
Oh, tasyayam. Oh, yam irukku. So
okay.
right.
Just change.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Tasyayam purvarangaha pavanapurapade nashaya sesharogan.
मायामेनां तरित्वा परमसुखमये त्वत्पदे मोदिता हे तस्यायं पूर्वरङ्गः पवनपुरपते नाशया शेषरोगान्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Okay, thank you everybody.